What's poppin'? You are now watching Drew Boy Sports Show. I'm your host, King Ralph, here with the homie and my co-host, the homie Kai. What's poppin'?
Yo, 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 what's good, man? It's good to see you as always. You know what I'm saying? I love that cat dog. What is it, Raptor
Oh,
Nickelodeon shirt, repping.
yeah. Gang,
Yeah.
gang.
Yes, yes, yes. We got to rep that 90s nostalgia, man. You know what I'm saying?
Holding on to it, man. I had my Rugrat shorts on yesterday.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
holding on.
Rocket Power was cold too now. That's a little different, though. A little later.
On the shirt? Nope, they were not. I
No
think
Rocket
they were
Power.
like what to say, that wave of cartoons like after the OGs.
Yep, after the
They were like that
OGs.
second wave of cartoons. But
Yeah.
make sure y'all, since you're watching, make sure you are subscribing, liking our Facebook page, the He Say She Say channel. He Say She Say all one word. As the same name on YouTube. Make sure you go and subscribe, and make sure you go and follow. See, I always point the wrong direction, but it's in that corner over there. Make sure you go on Instagram at J.U.K. Sports Show, and let's jump straight into it. But before we do all of that, gotta send a little shout out to my sponsors. If I can just pull this page up real quick, my internet is tweaking right now. That crazy. But
There we
let's
go.
go.
Hitboxer.
If you want to do any photo shoots, music videos, or podcasts like what you're watching right now, make sure you call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And we're gonna jump straight into it. Gilbert Arenas found himself in a whole lot of backlash for one comment. But before we get to that, there was something else he talked about on that same podcast,
Yep.
or actually another podcast that he had. I think that one he was talking to Phil Handy, where he got the backlash. The other podcast was with Josh Christopher and my boy
Okay.
um, Kenny. So as the NBA has it right now, the NBA G League team, the G League Ignite, they are comprised of people trying to get into the league in a sense, where Gilbert Arenas said there's not enough room for everybody to be able to flourish. So they either need to stop it altogether or create where there's two, three, four teams. Is he inbounds or outbounds?
I think he's inbounds because anytime you create a suggest, it's one he made a suggestion, so he's definitely inbounds to make a create a suggestion that he feels will benefit the NBA and benefit the G League as a whole, and also the product, the players, those who are associated with the league and who are going to be a part of the league in the future, like we kind of discussed briefly prior to this episode of our show. We talked about Ronnie. We talked about those that influx of guys who will be coming into the NBA hopefully, or if they don't necessarily go straight, from the NBA, they go to the G League if they're not drafted. And so we want to make sure that these players are getting an adequate amount of development and an adequate amount of playing time and adequate mainly amount of opportunities per se, more overall, so they can showcase their abilities and also so they can grow their games. And you can't do that when you have the way how it is with the roster construction as is in the G League and how the teams are, right? So I feel like we should expand it because when we look at this past year's NBA draft is actually a really good example, Ralph. Look at a guy like Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels coming out of the G League, drafted by the New Orleans Pelicans, who I think is my dark horse, or not to say I think that's my dark horse sleeper team to make the conference finals once they get Zion back. And seeing what he was able to do and how high he was able to go, right? And so you look at that, and you want players to be able to actually have that ample opportunity, and you can't really get that when they're behind boom 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 boom. It doesn't make any sense to me, right? And so now that you're a prominent league enough now at this basis, there should be no reason why not you have those additions. Look at the NBA. At one point in time, the NBA back in the day, of the days of the late great Bill Russell, had 8 teams. You know what I'm saying? And then we went from 8 to, I think, I don't know, it was like 15 or 20. We had the 29, and now, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say we have, is it 30? It's 30 or 32, something like that. Something like that. It's something like that. I should know, but yeah. So, um, Supersonics. OKC, etc. So, yeah, I'm actually in bounds with his comments on terms of the suggestion. I wouldn't end the G League or anything like that, but
I
yeah,
think
I actually like it.
also in that like stop doing that to
Hmm.
where you put them on one team,
Yeah,
like
all
either
in
stop
one.
doing it all
You know.
together because then you're hurting people's draft stock.
Yeah.
Like just think about it: Mikey Williams, Dewan Wagner Jr., Bronny,
Hmm.
and then Justin Edwards all on the same team. It's like at some point there's only one basketball, and
Yes.
so I think he's in bounds for what he said. Next up, my girls. They lost a heartbreaker. Las Vegas Aces lose a heartbreaker. Jewel Lloyd with a what they
Mamba
call it
mentality. Mamba
with the
mentality.
nail in the coffin. Let's go ahead and get him out of here for game one.
Right.
So, am I out of bounds or am I in bounds for saying the Aces will win game two?
I'm actually gonna say call out of bounds on that, Ralph.
What?
Yes, shocker. What? I like a little bit of controversy. I don't want to. I would actually, I do want to. I would actually love to speak about this a little bit more, but this is a little a shorter topic. But I think that the fact that the excuse me, the Storm were able to go in against the best team on the road and steal home court advantage in the fashion in which they did it, forcing them to 11 turnovers in the game, right? A team that pretty much you couldn't turn the ball over at all. They were the best team with protecting the basketball. You forced 11 turnovers. And not only did you force 11 turnovers, they were able to convert those turnovers into points. You had the three-star players, Stewart, um, and Lloyd, they all combined and Charles, excuse me, they combined for 65 total points. And Brianna Stewart looked like the clear cut MVP and the clear cut best player on the court in that game. And it's crazy because Asia Wilson, someone who I self admittedly, was like, okay, she's the best. And Brianna Stewart played a full around game from a playmaking standpoint, from a defensive standpoint. Asia Wilson only had 8 points. Her impact was pretty much minuscule and not even felt. And then Sue Bird, from a playmaking standpoint, what she was able to do. But the one thing that I wanted to say, and the reason why I say it's out of bounds, is their defense. With all due respect, I wasn't expecting that. Um, to hold them to 41% from the field shooting was that's crazy. However, you can also say they're not going to shoot like that throughout the course of the series, and I actually do believe that they're going to be able to bounce back from a shooting perspective. But then you look at this the Storm being underhanded with missing a player. So I think when you look at those kinds of things, and I think Asia needs to make sure that she comes mentally prepared in game two. I think that we might actually just be in for a close game. But at the end of the day, we can say that the Storm came in and they did what they were supposed to do, and they were able to steal home court. So, but I wouldn't just say, I'm not saying you're saying it's going to be like a wash, but I
Right,
wouldn't just necessarily say that they're going to go in and just win it. I think now your senses are kind of heightened. And shout out to Kelsey Plum. She did get a good look at the end of the game
yeah,
and that she normally would make. So it did come down to the wire. But through three quarters, Ralph, and even up to the middle of the fourth quarter, they didn't even have the lead.
right,
So
right.
I look at it like that. Aces, they have more talent, but this is also a more experienced Storm
That team
team.
is
So
deep
we got to look at it from
though.
that.
I forgot that Tina Charles played for them.
Yeah.
I
So,
got this notification. It was talking about Tina Charles leaving the Phoenix Mercury, and I was just
mhm.
like, man, like I didn't even know she played for the Storm. Like that's almost cheating
She had a
to a
double double, a quiet double double
like
too.
she's. I think Tina Charles is around my age because I think she was a little
Hmm.
older than Maya Moore,
Hmm.
and I know Maya Moore was during my college years because
Yeah,
my cousin
UConn.
played basketball with her and we graduated together. So I think and Tina Charles was a little older than her, so she's a little past her prime, but she's still a legit big.
Yeah.
Like
She
that's
had like
crazy.
20 rebounds last game,
Yeah,
bro. Like,
like
yeah.
Tina Charles, Brown Stewart, Joel Lloyd, and Sue Bird all on the same team.
Yeah.
Like
It's gonna be a long series.
you can throw me in at the three or whatever
Yeah.
position that is available, and
Yeah.
we're a championship team. Like that with that four, you got a squad.
Right.
And so I think that it is one of those things where is Seattle came out, punched them in the mouth. Now is how they react.
Mhm.
I think Becky Hammond is a heck of a coach. So I think she's going to have the troops. Like this is what she
She'll
needed
be ready.
for them to be ready. You know, this one of them Popovich moments. Oh, I
Yeah,
need
it's only game one.
yeah. I'll let y'all go get punched in the mouth. This is exactly
Right.
what I've been telling y'all to do. Now, are y'all ready to listen? And
Yeah.
then, so I think that for me, one, I'm a fan of the team, so I'm extremely biased. But just as a person that is giving my analysis, you know, I try to give my unbiased
Yeah. Yeah.
analysis, even though when I'm talking about teams that I'm actually fans of. So I think that they actually have a chance to. Plus, as a person that just loves basketball, I just want to see the series go as long as they could possibly go. Because as
Hey, this
many
might be
games as I
the
named with
finals.
Seattle, I can
Yeah.
go off of Asia. Shout out to Asia, defensive player of
Yeah.
the year, led the league in double doubles and rebounds, was second in defensive rebounds,
That's crazy.
um, as well as she led the league in blocks too. And so I think that it's you got Asia, Kelsey,
Mhm.
then you got Jackie Young, won most
Gray.
improved player, and then Chelsea Gray.
Yeah. Yeah. Kept him
And
in the
so
game.
and she was keeping them in that game. But Jackie,
Mhm.
I want a shout out to her too for winning most improved player.
Yep.
And so that
Star
was one
power
of those
all over.
things where like they got a deep young team where Seattle's teams are a little their players are more established, have won
Yeah.
championships, won MVPs, and multiple All Stars. So it's just can the youth
Young Bucks.
can the young bucks that are fit like some they I think they had 3 All Stars on this team
Yeah.
where they've I think the 4 that I named, they've all made the All-Star team at some point in their careers, but I think currently this year there was only 3. But it's like their team is deep. So I just want to see a good first I want to see it go as long as possible because I love good basketball. Then
Yeah.
I want to see my team come out on top. So I definitely want to
Oh
see
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like plus I just genuinely feel like they will win game 2.
Yeah.
They're not gonna go back to Seattle down 0
Because
down.
if they go down 0-2, it's gonna be like, oh, what?
It's a wrap. It might not make it back. Might
Hey,
not make it back to Vegas.
because
Because the
they
next year
pushing
that they play in Vegas, I'm gonna go.
right. Yeah, yeah. They pushing that Sue Bird narrative too. So Seattle's like we ain't going down.
Right, right. Not without a
Oh,
fight.
real quick, as we move on to the next topic, I just want to do a little mini shout out because I know the Sky lost, but Candace Parker, shout out to Candace Parker, man,
Yeah,
and because she was hooping on both ends, like defensively, because she won Defensive Player of the Year before, and like I remember Shaq was like, "You won Defensive Player of the Year." She's like, "Stop it, Shaq." She's like, "No, she was blocking everything last game. I
always
think she had
bullying
like,
Shaq.
huh?
I said she's always bullying Shaq on that
Yeah,
show.
she always bullying Shaq though. But I actually got a chance to see the highlights of the game. I didn't see the full game, but she went off, and so shout out to her. But and I saw someone say on social media like the announcer needs to stop calling her CP3 though. I'm like, that's true, man. She kept calling her CP3. I'm like, come on, man, like call her by her name or
Yeah.
be
Or
respectful.
give
But
her
like
another
CP3,
nickname that
yeah,
someone on the real side doesn't have.
right. She's like CP3. I'm like CP3 can block. I'm like what? But
But
yeah, but shout out to her, man.
let's get to it.
Yeah.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. A lot of people feel like there's some disrespect being thrown his way, specifically
Mm.
from Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas on a podcast, like I mentioned earlier with Phil Handy, he went on to say that talking about when Giannis being the best player in the league, he says that Giannis is out there playing basketball at a high level, but
Mhm.
he doesn't understand the game of basketball. Is he inbounds or out of bounds for these comments or this statement?
So I'm gonna, and we talked about it before. I think overall, once he clarified it on Instagram, what he meant on his, he put a nice little essay on Instagram. I
Yeah,
understood where he was
just
coming
don't do
from.
that.
Yeah, from a
Yeah,
full perspective though.
he put
I
a
was like,
whole post like this,
yeah,
like a,
that's
I'm
but that's
writing
Gil
you a 4-page letter.
letter. Shout out to Aaliyah, man. Rest in peace to the queen. But yeah, yeah. Gilbert, man. And I'm not even gonna sit up here and cap. I don't know you capping. I'm gonna speak my truth and speak based off what he said with Phil Handy, because Phil Handy looked like I ain't really buying what you saying, bro. Like leave me
Right.
out of this. I thought he was out of bounds from what he was saying on the podcast because he didn't really elaborate it. And I think sometimes Gilbert does have ideas. Some I will say actually I do think are foolish. Others are actually very intelligent, and then others are not. He needs to
Yeah.
expound on it because he doesn't always say. So I thought from just saying understand the game, I'm like, he's a two-time MVP, a defensive player of the year, a most improved player, multi-time All NBA, a Finals MVP, scored 50 points in the closeout game, shot 83% from like the free throw line in an area that he was considered weak at in the most. Like, I'm like, come on, man. Like, let's calm down. He's won everything except a scoring title, which he could if he wanted to, and an assist title. So I think he understands the game very, very well from what he came from. But I think as he expounded on in terms of overall um um opponents respecting certain areas of his game, which he's made small strides in, like his mid-range game, right? Seeing him in the Celtics series, being able to just put a Grant Williams on him, right? Versus a guy like a KD, who yes, they did get swept, but they threw the whole team at him,
They
right?
threw
There was times,
they threw the book at KD
yeah, they threw the book at him, and Udoka, he knew.
every time.
Udoka's like, we're
That's the
gonna
lie.
right. Udoka told him on Team USA, we're gonna wipe out Patty Mills in the series. He's like, Patty, you ain't scoring nothing, right? And
Yeah,
so he got a chance to study and stuff like that. Not saying other coaches haven't studied, but it's a different when you attack Giannis, you attack him differently. So with all due respect, not to be long winded, right? And I'll let you go in it more because I know you want to break it down. I think that Gilbert just he didn't really have a chance to really break down what he meant, but I think his terminology saying understand the game, people
yeah,
are automatically going to think acumen or
yeah.
intelligence or reading plays, and I'm like, Budenholzer's offense isn't really that advanced anyway. And we
Give
watched it
Giannis,
versus
give Giannis the ball, and everybody else get out the way.
facts,
Go post. Go
facts,
stand out at the three. It's not really. It's
right.
not a lot of motion. It's not a lot of.
It's not the Warriors' offense.
No, not at all. Not at
And
all.
I'll end it with this, bro. One thing actually, which and the Bucks will be fine, but one thing I don't like about Budenholzer is a couple different things that I saw in that series, which I definitely like. Like fall in love with George Hill. George Hill, no, stop it. But it's and I don't know if it's so much Budenholzer or Giannis because Budenholzer should get on your players. But there's times when Giannis will come down with the basketball, his handle's fine, but Giannis he can play different positions, but the position he shouldn't play as the number one option or be as his priority is when he plays the point forward position.
Yeah,
When Giannis is used as a screener, it blows the defense up. No one
yeah,
ever stops him as a screen and roll guy, right?
yeah.
And it
I've
frustrated
always
me
said
watching.
that about LeBron too. LeBron,
Right.
like, there was. I think it was the Christmas game, and they played
Mm-hmm.
without AD. Now they got beat really bad, and it wasn't
I
close.
remember
But
that
there was
game.
points where like the offense was clicking and working with
Mm-hmm.
having him be the screener. When you have someone that big and that athletic, and you see what they can do with the ball in their hand,
Right.
imagine if they're just coming downhill, and you have to pay attention to the person that's coming off the screen.
Right. Every time, and then you kick it out to the shooters, the Grayson Allens, the Pat
Yeah,
Connaughtons, the Bobby Porters,
exactly,
or Brooke Lopez. So I'm gonna let you cook, bro. But I'm like, yeah, that's the one area where I'm like, bro. And maybe if I was Gil, I would use that. Be like, there's a schematic thing that Giannis actually he falls too much in love with handling the ball, and I'm like, you got Drew Holiday for a reason.
exactly.
There you go. So go
And
ahead.
it's one of those things. Like right now, I'm a manager at the job that I have, so like I have to piece people together and see where people are lacking at, and kind of like in a coach in a sense.
Yeah.
So the other day I'm sitting there and I'm like, you gotta. It's one of those things where you always see those memes of like my job has this thing where because I'm so good at so many things, I end up doing other people's jobs. And
I
that's
feel
one of
you.
those things where I think that Giannis falls into,
Mm.
which like we talked about off camera. Yes, I would have liked to see him work on things much earlier
Yeah.
in his career. You can definitely tell that he started working on his game after that loss to Kawhi that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
Would I would have that was 4 years ago. So would I have liked to him for him to talk about that 6 years ago, or think about that 6 years ago? Because then now where what what's the name? What Gilbert Arenas is saying, I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
saying he's actually inbounds. And me, I watch a lot of Gil,
Yeah.
watch a lot of No Chill Gil. I primarily, honestly, I watch No Chill Gil, Undisputed,
Hmm.
and then I watch the Pivot podcast now.
I love the pivot.
and I just recently got back into I Am Athlete. But specifically, I'm a big fan of DJ Williams and that Dime Life.
Mm.
I really hope I'm gonna get off when I get off here. I'm gonna write a social media post
Okay.
and find that page. But I want them to give us some HBCU gear
Hey, I'm with it.
because them
I'm with it.
HBCU like the FAMU colors,
Yeah.
fire.
My dad went
Uh,
to Howard University. My mom went to
Howard's colors are
Coppin
fire.
State. Yeah. So shout out to both of them.
Gremlin, that black
Yeah.
gold,
Mm-hmm.
fire. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
just so many different like schools and like the colors. But not to get
Right.
off topic.
Yeah.
But to go back to what he was like, what Gilbert Arenas was saying is that, and I watch a lot of, so I understood what he was saying from the get go. Now, when he was able to expand on his thoughts and really give a full analysis of what he's saying, as a person, we both podcast and we've had guests on before. We've both
Yeah.
had episodes where we're leaving the episode like, dang, I could have said this, or I should have said this, or I could have expanded on this. So it's like now he actually gets the opportunity to do so. When you break down Giannis's game, the same things we talked about when 6 years ago are some of the same things we're talking about now. And that's where like his mid range, like with Grant Williams on you, you should be able to kill in the mid range because you're obviously taller. So now he can't block your shot. So that turnaround should be knocked down.
Mm.
Because, and it sucks because we talked about this after we talked about this off camera before the show. With when you start comparing people to the greats, the Kobe's, the Mikes, it's hard, it sucks, and it's an unfortunate comparison because nobody's worked as hard as them.
Nobody, not even close.
But at the same time, if we're gonna come, if people are gonna start calling you the best in the league,
Mm.
the person that you're saying you're best at, you're better than, they're comparing them to the greats. So now you got to get compared to the greats.
Mm.
As much as we talk about LeBron, you got to keep that same energy when it comes to Giannis. So you can't be like, well, no, he got 50 and he still can't have a mid range. Yeah, because there's a mismatch that like the Suns should have
Yeah.
never had him going straight up head to head with DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that shouldn't have happened. So now he had that stat line because he was being guarded one on one.
Mm-hmm.
Where LeBron's not getting guarded one on one, Mike wasn't getting guarded one on one, Kobe was not getting guarded one on one. So it's like, yeah, like it's like when that's why I say you got to keep that same energy. So with Giannis, he doesn't have that one dribble pull up from the free throw line. He doesn't have that turnaround jumper in the post, and he
Yeah.
proved it against Grant Williams. Like I said, Grant
Right.
Williams is 6'8" at the most. Giannis is called
It's not
7 foot.
consistent. He does that little fadeaway, but it's not consistent. Where it's
Yeah,
like, okay, okay,
exactly. And so it's like, but the one thing that I didn't like, where you could say he was out of bounds, it's not like Giannis isn't working on it.
right.
He just didn't come in working on it like he should have. But now he is working on it. So we'll see what happens because you sent me that photo, but I had already seen his stat line.
Yeah. No,
And
I don't even know if that was a real stat line though.
Luca had a crazy stat line too.
Yeah, because
And,
I was like, that looked like a crazy stat line. I'm like,
yeah,
what? Because I was like, woo. Because Jamal sent it to me. That's why I was like, okay.
yeah.
Then I just forwarded. I was like,
And
yo,
Jokic, him and Jokic
yeah.
battled it out. Jokic actually ended up winning.
Yeah, I saw
Uh,
Jokic. I saw that
but they
game.
was
Yeah,
going crazy.
bro. Jokic be hitting some wild shots though on people with
Yeah,
defense.
that
I'm like,
one
some of them
leg
joints,
3 point jump shot is crazy to me.
bro.
Like
I
I
know.
seen him practicing. Remember that shot Kobe hit against Dwayne Wade? I
Yeah,
seen him practicing that.
that falling out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But college football is here. We're
Ooh, ooh,
this
ooh.
much closer to football,
Yeah.
American football, though. So we got Oregon, number
Mhm.
11 Oregon versus the reigning champion, Georgia Bulldogs. Who's winning?
Okay, so this game, I believe, is going to be to me, this will be the best game of week one. It's going to be the best game of week one, despite the fact that a lot of people have this just being a rout, a blowout, etc. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that, well, if I want to make my prediction, but I'm not going to say that people can't be justified in feeling the way that they feel about that, right? However, I'm looking at it like this, Ralph. Okay, so you have the Georgia Bulldogs, who national champs. They're coming in, okay, and they're facing off against Oregon. Oregon has talent on their offense. Oregon has some good players, etc. But Georgia, they lost 5 starters on their defense from last season,
in the
and
first round.
Trayvon Walker. Come here. What'd you say?
They all win in the first round.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, which is crazy. Crazy. Isn't that like
Wild.
for the first time in history or one of the like all of them you defensive tackles, Jordan Davis to the Ravens, we talked about possibly drafting uh
Yeah.
uh uh
Jamal
Seam, the
Walker.
defensive
But
back. Like, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
they
it's
they went crazy. However, so you might be like, not only do you lose 5 defensive starters, not only do you lose, okay, your defensive coordinator, who is now the head coach at Oregon. So now he's going to know the strengths and the weaknesses of the opposing quarterback. Okay, so you have that going on, and you're looking at it from that perspective, and you're like, okay, there's Oregon has to have a chance. But in the words of the great Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend.
no. I just want to say that
Yeah,
when we talk about announcers,
yeah.
Lee Corso doesn't get enough love.
Bro, he's the goat to me. But that's for college football. That is because I just love what he does. He brings
He
he
has the
brings
energy,
like
and then he's actually gives really, really good analysis.
right there we go. There we go. So I wish I had a mascot head because I'm gonna put my Georgia Bulldog mascot on, man. Because look,
Exactly.
man, I don't care if they lost the Fab Five or the Jackson Five. They have some great defensive stars, man, at 3 levels. Just like when we look at the NFL, I
They
know it's a
just
different sport.
they just keep willing them in, man. They just keep on
Exactly.
rolling. Like people talk
Remember?
about Georgia, but I mean they
Yeah,
talk about Alabama, but Georgia
Georgia
always got athletes.
always good athletes. Remember when we talked about the Rams, your NFC team Rams, bro?
Yeah,
They had three guys at 3 levels. Aaron Donald, um,
yeah,
what's his face, Bobby Wagner,
yeah,
and Jalen Ramsey. Well, at three
yeah.
levels, you have Akili Ringo at defensive back, right?
Mhm,
You have Jalen Carter at defensive line, right? You have
mhm,
Nolan Smith at outside line. So you
mhm.
replenish those resources on the 3 key areas of the field. Then you have elite tight end play, right? Big tight ends. You have a 6'7" tight end, a 6'5", 6'4" tight end. Bennett is he excels at the vertical seams, throwing over the middle of the field, etc. So I feel like having another year under offensive coordinator Todd Munchkin and being able to do what they're doing with the athletes, that's going to pay dividends. So I think that just because you lose a defensive coordinator, the offense already knows how to go up against that defense. So that's not going to be any surprise. And they have the home field advantage. So I say all that to say this. I don't think that Georgia's really honestly going to lose a beat. I think it will be competitive within the first quarter, maybe, or the first half, right? And I think that ultimately Oregon will score at least 17, no more than 20 points, because the spread is like what, 17 and a half points. But Bo Nix has played his 3 worst games statistically versus Georgia in his entire career. He's averaging like 1 yard per carry on the ground, opposed to like 4 yards per carry when he runs the ball. And he can't do it. Yes, he has better offensive line, right? This time around, but they have too many athletes. They have the home field. It's a road game. The
Yeah,
defense, the first year head coach, and they have a new offensive, I think, coordinator as well, or offensive offense that they're implementing. So I think there's going to be a period of orientation, Ralph, for Oregon where they keep it, relatively close early, but then that second half, Georgia is going to beat the brakes off them with all due respect. And so now when I think about the spread, I'm like, you know what? I think Georgia's going to cover. So I got my prediction, and I'm gonna swing it to you. I
you
actually had
think
a
they
score
will cover
prediction. Yeah, I think they're gonna cover it. I think they're
17?
gonna they're gonna cover it. I'm gonna tell you why. Cause right, they're gonna win the game 38-17. They're gonna win it. I think they're gonna win it by like a point or so.
I haven't watched Oregon football in a really long time, so I can't even really say. I
There might
can't
be a reason
argue with
for that. There might be a reason for that. No, I'm playing.
you. I mean, you're right. You're right. But I had to talk about my boys,
Yeah, cook on this one, man. That's your team.
Notre Dame. versus at coming in at number 5, actually, honestly. So it's respectable.
Blasphemy.
But Ohio State coming in at number 2, which I really genuinely believe they're the only team
Mm,
that on paper can beat Alabama.
okay. Number one.
And
I
so
think they could be number one.
as an Ohio State fan,
Uh
it's our championship to lose. I got to I
Ooh.
actually I actually was just looking at the I meant to look at the odds before the show because I
Uh-huh.
wanted to go and look and say like I get paid on Friday. I'm gonna
Okay.
go throw me some money on Ohio State to win it all. But
Hey, it's not a bad bet.
exactly.
Not a
I
bad
think
bet.
we're gonna end up. I think Stroud is gonna win the Heisman,
Mm.
and so you already know what I'm gonna say. Ohio State finna win it. Finna win this game.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
17 and a half.
Another 17 and a half spread. Here we go.
Like
That's what
I just feel like that's disrespectful to a number 5.
Mhm.
But there's also rankings where like what looks good on paper and how you were ranked last year
Yeah.
don't really add up. So now someone could be overranked or underranked. And Ohio State doesn't like early in the season, they never have a history of blowing teams out right away. It's like once they
Mm.
get into like third or fourth game in the season, that's where they start running through teams. And so I'm definitely gonna take Notre Dame in them 17 and a half.
Oh
But
yeah,
Ohio
yeah, yeah.
State winning this game.
I'm
They just had
mm,
way too much firepower
right.
where I don't think Notre Dame has the offensive firepower nor a good enough defense to where like I don't think Notre Dame can score over 30 points,
I don't either
which which is what is definitely going to be required
to beat them.
to win this game. So for me personally, I'm going to take Ohio State
Okay.
and we're going to run it up. We finna
You
run
got a
it up.
you got a score prediction on that one? Like a England maybe or your initial reaction? I always like score
I
predictions.
think it'll be 24.
Okay.
I actually think 38-24. I just think 17 and a half is a lot.
It is. It is.
Where like I think it'll be 38-24. I don't think they'll blow them out,
Mm.
but I do think they'll win by 2 touchdowns.
Okay. Yeah, I look at it like this. I'm like I look at Notre Dame, and I'm glad you mentioned they don't really blow teams out because I think they gave up what 200 rushing yards or over that to Minnesota in the season opener
Yep.
last season. Then you look at other teams that have been able to run the ball on them, but then they get Jim Knowles. So you bring in a guy in Ohio State for Ohio State where they can actually bolster that defense, or they have the talent, but they need to make sure they're actually stopping the run, implementing their scheme to do that. So I
Mhm.
think now that you have him, that may pay dividends. I think ultimately, I'm with you. I think what's going to come down to is they're going to try to limit time of possession, which will limit opportunities. Notre Dame, meaning they're going to try to control the clock, do pace, play bend but don't break defense, and that's all good and well. And they have some big bodies as well, but you guys have a good offensive line. And I think ultimately being able to run, being able to pass, being able to have the quarterback play, sometimes you can come in with a game plan, right? Everyone has a game plan until it's game time. You like that? That's a bar right there, right? So, it's but and so I think ultimately it's going to come down to there will be too many things to try to stop for them. Where I think they are going to slow this game down. Don't get me wrong. I think they're going to slow the game down based off history. But I think they're not going to be able to stop everything, plug all the holes. And then ultimately at the end of the day, man, like it's just like Notre Dame, man, can they really hang like that from with the athletes that they got over there? I just don't see it. So I'm with you, man. I actually like that score.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
giving them 24 points?
touchdowns. I think it'll be 2 touchdowns, but 17 and a half is a lot.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
almost
gonna
3 touchdowns.
I'm gonna
Like this
say
game is three
go ahead.
touchdowns.
Okay, I was gonna say 33 to 33-20.
Okay. Oh, so you give it you gonna take them in that 17 and a half?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
But one of the times a conversation I've been waiting to have,
Man, I've been
especially
waiting
when it
too.
comes to your division,
Yeah.
um, not the AFC North Central, but
Yo. Oh
starting
man.
off AFC division winners, man. It's that time of the year going into
Yeah,
the
we
season.
we
AFC
made it.
South, you got
Oh, AFC. Oh, okay. AFC South, man. You know what? I actually feel like this team's being disrespected. And I'm actually going against the grain. I can't believe I'm going against the grain like an against the grain haircut, but I'm going against the grain and I'm going with the Titans. And
really.
I say that's against the grain pick because I everyone's
Oh, it's
on the
definitely a
call.
disagreeing pick because I definitely thought that we wouldn't argue about this.
Yeah, we're gonna. Hey man, hey, variety is a spice of life, man. Variety is a spice of life.
I need to hear why
Um,
though. I'm like I
okay,
for the sake of time, I was just gonna go hit
yeah,
hit.
yeah.
But
No, no.
since you disagreed with me, what what
Yeah. And maybe I was watching too much Bussing with the Boys with Taylor Lewan that he started to grow on me. You know what I'm saying? But
and that's
you
a really good podcast too. I'm not gonna cap.
it, shout out to them as well.
Yeah,
But it's crazy because like I sit there and think about it. And he talked about the Super Bowl, right? And he said like Tannehill's like don't pack whatever blah blah blah. Like they really believe they were going to the Super Bowl that year, even if they weren't necessarily the best team per se. They beat they had the Bengals beat, right?
mhm,
And they got Derrick Henry back. And Derrick Henry, when he came back in the game, he didn't look right. And they should have stayed with Foreman. But even then, they still should have won the game. And I'm like, you
right.
know what? The Titans actually, they're still a good team. Yes,
Yeah,
they lost AJ Brown, but they picked up Robert Woods. Robert Woods is a very, very more than serviceable wide receiver. You
and
have a
Chase Burton
healthy,
Pollard.
right? Yeah, but you have a healthy Derrick Henry coming back. And what I like about them, Ralph, with all due respect to the Colts and other teams, is they have an identity. So one thing with Mike Vrabel is he's never going to steer clear from his identity. They have an identity on the offensive side of the ball, even defensive side of the ball, which isn't as potent as a linebacker play.
Hey, Simmons
That
is it though. He's
yeah,
a he's in game plan record.
game plan record, game plan changer. I mean, what do you have? 8 sacks or whatever or some
Yeah,
crazy on Burrow. We saw that game and
yeah.
he made me he pretty much was like, okay, I know who this guy is. So I look at them, I look at the schedule, and the division is an easy division to win outside of the Colts. So I'm actually gonna go with the tried and true here, and I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Titans to come out with some fire from their loss in the playoffs and try to make a statement. I don't think they're gonna win like 14 games or anything like that, but I think maybe they can get it with 11 wins.
Okay, okay. Well, I got the Colts going
Okay.
with the grain. Um, I was always a wave guy, so I got to go with go with the grain. Um, I just think that they're gonna have too much, and plus the addition of a Matt Ryan, they're just gonna be able to create too much offense.
Uh huh.
Where I just don't believe in Tannehill, and I really
Oh, I
I
don't either.
really
But
believe the pressure
mhm.
to put Malik Willis in the game is eventually going to become too much
Mm.
because he
Mm.
played well. He looked
Mhm.
ready, in my
Mhm.
personal opinion.
Right, right, right.
Like from what I've seen from Malik Willis, I seen everything of why I would have thrown him in right away.
Right away.
And so for me, I got the Colts, and for those reasons.
See, I
Next
don't
up,
believe in Matt Ryan though. That's the only thing. I know it sounds blasphemous, but I've always thought Matt Ryan was overrated, even though he won the MVP. So people can come at me, but I never was a Matt
I
Ryan
still
guy.
think he'll be it. I don't think he's. I do think he's slightly overrated, but he's better than Carson Wentz.
Yeah, but I'm taking Flacco in his prime in the postseason over Matt Ryan because they were pretty much the
But,
same draft. But
but this
anyway,
ain't a postseason
I
conversation.
know it's not. You're
So
right though.
that's not
Matt
even
Ryan
in
is good
the
in the
division.
regular season.
He,
Fair
he
enough. Fair enough.
balls out in the
You're right.
regular season.
You're right. You're right about that. You're right about that. So I'll give you
And
that.
this
All
one,
right.
I'm about to be. I'm gonna throw my phone if we disagree.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I'm joking. I ain't gonna throw my phone, but I'd be really surprised
All
if
right.
we disagree. I'm
All
taking the
right.
Buffalo Bills. I think it's gonna be way. I think the defense got better with Von Miller. Playoff Von is a real thing. He already has. He's played in only 2 Super Bowls, and he's tied with Charles Haley for Super Bowl sacks. So he just
Mm.
takes it to another level when it comes to the playoffs. I think his addition, being able to create, That pressure for the quarterback is one of those things they really could have used
Yeah.
in the game against the Chiefs. Plus, now you got another year with Stephon. They got a running back. They got a good young running back, and then they get. I think Gabriel Davis will be another person that'll pop up. That'll be a really good. He'll have a really good season this year with
Okay.
the with more balls being available. Not that they don't have Emmanuel Sanders or Cole Beasley. So I just think that the Bills is going to be legit. I think they're going to win it. And plus, it's just not close. I just don't. I think that the talent gap after the Bills is just there's a drop off. There's the Jets
Mhm,
all the way at the bottom, but then
mhm.
I don't think the Dolphins have enough, and then I don't think that there's enough. I don't think the receivers are good enough, or that Mac Jones is good enough. He's not
And
Tom Brady
brilliant.
to
Yeah.
take those pedestrian receivers and make them all stars.
Okay. So he's not a ceiling raiser essentially.
No,
Um,
not
you
yet.
made really good points. You made really good points on this division, and I believe that there's going to be a team whose helmet is has a white helmet and has somebody from an area that starts with the M that's going to win the division, and that is from the University of Maryland, Stephon Diggs. He thought I was going to Miami. Anyway, so I'm picking the Buffalo Bills. I was like, how can I word this, create some controversy? Nah, I'm going with the Bills, man. Come on. I'm putting my Bills on the Bills. So win the AFC East easily, bro. Because look, man, yeah, easily because I think the bottom tier teams make it easier. I think the Dolphins actually have talent. I'm not saying they're more talented than the Bills, but I think offensively and their defense is underrated. They're going to be a team that gets 9 wins.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say 9 wins. I like the additions. Well, let me talk about the Bills. Excuse me. I like the addition of a two-time Super Bowl MVP Von Miller, uh, adding and strengthening that pass rush and key downs. He was a integral piece of that Rams defense on their postseason run, right? You have also their back end that we don't talk about. Everyone talks about the Von Millers, but what about the Hydes and the Poyers, et cetera? They have, if not the best, a top two. You're stretching when you say top three secondary, right? We saw what they were able to do with Poyer and all those boys over there. Then you have a quarterback wide receiver duo. You know who your quarterback is. A team without a quarterback has no team. They have Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, one of the best duos in the league. And yes, they did lose their OC Brian Dable to the New York Giants. However, they're going to be able to, I think, run the ball at times now. Um, I just think top to bottom, they're arguably the most talented football team in the league, right? And they're going to come back with, I think, some fervor with competitive fervor with how they lost. So I like them to win the division. I'm with you on the Patriots, bro, and all the other teams. So I'm going with the Bills.
all right. Your division is up.
My division, Ravens. I'm not saying that because I'm biased. I'm saying that because I'm right. No, no, I'm picking the Ravens, man, for everything that we talked about over the course of this off season. We were 8-3 last season with the number one seed prior to Lamar Jackson's injury. Um, without our starting running backs, J.K. Dobbins, without Gus Edwards, we had the ghost of Le'Veon Bell. We had Devontae Freeman at one point. We had Latavius Murray at one point. We had all these guys who weren't our guys and our guys, and we strengthened the offensive line. Traded Hollywood Brown, got the highest graded center in Tyler Linderbaum, who looks great in the preseason. We're gonna run three tight end sets with Isaiah Likely, Nick Boyle, our blocking tight ends coming back, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman breakout year. Arguably the best secondary in the league. We got Kyle Fuller as our nickel corner now. Our boy Marcus Peters returning, which is going to make Humphrey's job easier. We signed a top five safety in Marcus Williams. We drafted another safety in Kyle Hamilton. So it's more than just names. It's the fact that we have range. So when you have range, that means you can go from one end of the football field to the other, sideline to sideline, that is,
Right.
horizontally. And I think it's going to cause a lot of havoc. And Lamar's been disrespected. It's a contract year. It's year five, age 25, playing with the boys' money. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to try out and pull Joe Flacco. So I think they're going to be good. And I think that the team that's going to be after us is the Bengals because I like what they did with their offensive line. But I'm going to give you a sleeper team and swing it your way. I have this weird feeling, Ralph. that don't sleep on the Steelers. I don't sleep on them, but I had this weird feeling that the Bengals are going to f it up because I know expectation now is on them, right? And they've been
Yeah,
talking all off season.
yeah,
Don't be surprised if Mike Tomlin slips into that second place. Just don't be surprised by it.
never,
So go ahead. I don't care about the Browns. Sorry.
never that.
Yeah.
I, whew, yeah. You know who I want to talk about?
This was
I
tough for
feel
me.
like
Go, you go ahead.
the slander is wild. First off,
Yeah.
I understand that like it's the Raiders,
Mhm.
but at a certain point, I'm tired of being thrown at the bottom. Like
Say it with your chest.
I can understand why you would take the Chargers because of how much talent they have on the team, but they've always had talent. So for them to just automatically get thrown above us is like, all right, I'll take that. But then the Chiefs, they lose Tyreek Hill, and people still got them winning the division. And then it's like, all right, well the Broncos they got Russell Wilson, so now we just gonna throw the Raiders at the bottom, and it's
Right,
like,
right.
what? After the all they talked about is there's if you go on Facebook, there's all types of Raiders DUI jokes. They talked about Ruggs and what happened, and he was just out here wilding on Halloween night.
Right, right.
John Gruden is sexist, racist, and homophobic. the worst
Man, they
triple
keep that
threat,
boy so.
the worst triple threat that you can have.
Right.
And it's just like we still made the playoffs.
The no coach.
And it's like, and then on top of that, how we played against the Bengals who went to the Super Bowl, we played them neck and neck, and they cheated us.
Should have won that game.
And so it's like now we get Devontae Adams, we get Chandler Jones, we trade Unique Ngakwe for Rocky Scene Bay, or not Bay, but Rocky Scene. Uh, and then we get McDaniels and his GM. And so I think that the team is going to be better. We're going to be competitive. We're going to be up there. So me personally, I want to say the Raiders is going to win it all. I mean, not win it all, but win this division.
They
And
could.
so,
They
but I
could.
think that the disrespect of just throwing them at the end is just wild to me. I just wanted to bring that up. I
So you have the top two?
personally, I personally think that the Chargers are going to win a division,
Okay.
and that the Raiders are going to come in second, Chiefs come in third, Broncos fourth.
Ooh, I have it differently. I'm actually surprised. I'm not surprised that you have Raiders top two. Everyone else out there is because they don't know anything. But respectfully, that is. I want to say
Right?
respectfully. I don't want to say they don't know anything, but I just think they're sleeping on them. That's why.
Yeah.
Um, I actually have you guys ahead of the Chargers,
Oh,
and
really?
I'll tell you why. I have you guys ahead of the Chargers because I believe the Chargers, and I really I do believe in their their talent, and we always say talent does can win games, but doesn't win championships. Yeah, no, no, no. But you have Khalil Mack, yes. You have Joey Bosa. I know all too well about having a the being a victim of a pass rush because our pass rush has been non-existent until we got Owe and stuff like that. But with T.J. Watt and Miles Garrett in our division, we had no line. But I'm like the Chargers, how you attack the Chargers, Ralph, and you know this, you have to run the ball on them because some
Yeah.
of that run defense like Khalil Mack, he ain't really run stuff in you. If you can run the ball in the Chargers, you can get him.
Mhm.
Also, their injuries. Derwin James, I like him. I like him. You said he's the best safety in the league.
Yeah.
Injury prone. They're like the Clippers of the of the NFL. I tell people this every year. The Chargers, they have all these names. People hype them up. They bolster them up, but they will fail you. They will let you down. And so I believe that because of that, the Raiders usurp them. They talk about the Chargers having talent. The Raiders have talent. The Raiders have a quarterback, but if you don't believe in the quarterback, they have Devontae Adams, someone who has a strong rapport with the quarterback since college. They have Darren Waller. They have Hunter Renfro, who Derwin James was on, I think, the Pivot podcast and said he told Ryan Clark to his face, he's like that. So
Yeah.
I think when you add those guys up, like let's not downplay the Raiders, actually look deeper into the Raiders. And I think it's going to come down to based off the scheduling, right? Because their schedules are crazy, right? For the teams. I actually think that the game between the Chiefs and the Raiders at the end of the season will determine who wins the division. I think that the Chiefs aren't really going to miss that much of a beat. I think that they're going to lose explosive plays with
Yeah.
the Tyreek Hill, but I think Sky Moore, a guy that I know you and Tar like, underrated receiver. They did replace Honey Badger. So they actually got good replacements for these players. They just might not be on, or should I say not might be, they're just not on those guys' levels at this point in their careers. So
Yeah.
I think having the continuity of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes combo, I think that they're gonna not lose a beat. And I think either the Raiders or the Chiefs, I'm saying it right now, I'm really saying this, are gonna win either 12 or 13 games in that division. And the teams like the Broncos and the Chargers are gonna go 10-7.
Oh wow.
So I think it's gonna come down to you two, the Chiefs and the Raiders, man. And that's blood rivalry right there.
Oh god.
So
Yeah. And then so the NFL top 100 players list ended this week, so we already know who's number one. But we got to work our way up to it. Can't just be like DC and just make a Justice League movie after 2 years. But shots fired. Bow bow. So we
you
got
don't care about no
Devontae
number one.
Campbell at 49, Robert Quinn at 48, Fred Warner 47, Austin
Mm,
Eckler in his crazy workout videos at 46, Justin
mm.
Poyer at 45, Micah Hyde was at 50. So and then you add Tre'Davious White, crazy secondary.
Defensive back, yeah, exactly.
Um, so then
Already,
we
they're all
got
on the
Dak,
same team. Man.
Deacon Dak at 44, which is wild to me. Derwin James
Mm.
at 43, Cam Hayward at 42, and Tristan Wirfs at 41.
Okay.
Anything stick out to you? Are you good there? Or are you
Yeah.
you
So I like Cam
disagree?
Hayward and I like Dak like as like players, but I'm not like a fan, like a big fan of them. But I respect them, should I say? Not I respect them. Both those players and Cam Hayward. I'm not going to sit up here and say he's not a good interior defense tackle. But compared to relative to the players that were behind him, give me those secondary players. Give me Derwin James. I think Derwin James is that low only because of injuries, which is respect. Because
Yeah,
I think we always say,
he
we
wasn't
both
on
would
the list
say,
last
yeah, he was on the list last year, and the best ability is availability. But I
year.
think as a talent wise, he's. I mean, not everyone could be in the top 25, so it's tough. But yeah, Derwin James, if you're the best at your position, yeah, you feel what I'm saying. But you said Poyer and Tre'Davious White.
No, no, no. So Poyer is at 45. I just was
Uh huh.
bringing that secondary up, which is crazy.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah. So go ahead.
Dak was after Poyer at 44.
Okay. Yeah. So I think for me, like Poyer, um, because of the I mean secondary premium at the position with all these wide receivers being passing league, like give me those guys. And I saw what he was able to do in the playoffs, and he's impactful. So other than that, I think those are some that's a nice little range.
Honestly, for me, man, I really would have. If it wasn't for this season, then I would have had a problem with Austin Eckler. He had a heck of a season.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
that could
Robert
yeah, yeah.
Quinn quietly getting to that 100 sack
Yeah.
mark
Yeah.
uh, this past season is crazy because that 100 sack mark is like for me when we talk about criteria for different positions.
Right.
I feel like if you can hit that 100 sack mark, you should get in the hall.
Houston made it, right? Justin Houston made 100 sacks, right? Last
Yeah,
year, I think. Yeah.
yeah. And so I think that Robert Quinn being at that spot, we'll see what happens with him not having Khalil Mack on the other side.
Uh-oh.
Um, Cam Hayward was all pro for like all pro, a first team all pro
Yeah.
defensive tackle. So I really can't
He's good.
argue there. I
He
just
makes
think
money
that
plays.
that is being overrated, in my
Always.
personal opinion. Um, I just haven't seen enough to say he's a top 50 NFL player, especially over like Fred Warner. I get he plays the quarterback, but
The way
like
you said that, bro.
the moment you drop Fred Warner into an NFL, just went crazy.
Oh man.
Where
Yeah.
like Dak was handing the ball off to Zeke 30 times a game in his rookie season.
I think Derek Carr is better than Dak. I just always say that. I think he's
I don't
better
think Dak is a top 10 quarterback.
at vertically passing the football, which you have to do in this league at some point. He is
Yes,
better than Dak at doing
yes, exactly.
that. Okay.
So on to the next. We got Justin Herbert, Chris Jones, Justin Herbert at 40, Chris Jones at 39, Joe Mixon at 38, D Hop at 37, your boy Lamar at 36, Keenan
Mm.
Allen at 35, Kevin Byard at 34, Nick Chubb at 33, your other boy Mark Andrews at 32,
Mm.
and Dalvin Cook at 31.
Okay, so who were the first five that you named off?
So I Justin Herbert, Chris Jones, Joe Mixon, D Hop, and Lamar.
Mixon should be lower. Herbert should be lower. This is that recency bias. I feel like going into the season, and I still think even with that, what he didn't make the playoffs, and stuff like that. With all that talent, he should be lower. Lamar, I'm not even. We already know he should be higher. Overall talent, everything. Just I know he had
Yeah,
a down season, but yeah, he's much higher.
should never
Mark
be higher
Andrews.
than Lamar.
There's so many players, and Mark Andrews, you say like is the best tight end. Some people will say Kelsey, some will say Kittle. Um, Mark Andrews right there, like I think he's the best. I actually believe he's the best tight end in the league, but I don't really think his rating is actually that bad. I think his rating is solid.
Yeah,
I think it's a solid rating. So what about you? Other than like I have Lamar way higher, but I
I
don't have
think Justin Herbert should
yeah
be lower, like you said. I
yeah
think Joe Mixon should be lower.
mm,
I'm surprised D Hop was rated so highly.
yeah.
Um,
I kind of get it, but I'm like, eh.
yeah,
Maybe bump into that Duran James territory. Maybe
yeah,
bump him back down there.
because Keenan Allen is shouldn't be rated higher than DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, yeah, especially even at this point in his career, like still, like
Yeah,
they were never talking about him like that. And Keenan is nice, but there's a
and I'm
tier.
really surprised that Dalvin Cook is rated higher than Nick Chubb because I think that Nick Chubb should be. Now, if we're just talking about being an offensive weapon, what
Mhm.
Dalvin Cook is able to do in the passing game is crazy. But
Yeah,
just being a running back,
right.
I think just running the football, I think the fact that Nick Chubb splits carries with Kareem Hunt is why he's not in that Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry conversation.
Hey, he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. Kareem Hunt is gone, 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 gone.
Oh, he got released?
They got rid of him, man.
Dan, they did? I didn't know that. I didn't see
That's why
that.
I
I
got him
didn't
in
get that
fantasy, bro.
far. I
Yeah,
saw who the Raiders got rid of. I saw the Dolphins, like
yeah.
Cardinals.
They been got rid of him like what last month or something like that. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, I heard he wanted out, but I didn't see any like movement or traction.
I think they released him. If I'm speaking false information, we'll double back on that some other time. But yeah, I thought they got rid of him. I don't want to spread a lie though. My bad, but I thought they got rid of him. Like
Yeah,
false
I'm.
information.
I can't wait to talk about next week's.
Oh,
So
NFC.
from 30 all the way to 26, we were put in the next week. We went a little long winded with some of our other topics, but I'm actually send a couple little shout outs I meant to send out earlier in the show. Shout out to John Wall as a person that deals with depression. Over the last couple of years, I totally feel for things that he went through, losing his mom, his grandmother, having to watch his mom um, go through chemo and cancer treatment, and having an aunt recently go through this and succumb to it. Is I definitely felt for him. So I want to send a shout out to him.
Yeah.
I actually think that he's going to have a really good season. Except actually, he fills a void that the Clippers are going to need. So I hope to see the success of him on the basketball court as well as with that team. Um, Utah got to get it together. Sports fans in Utah got to get it together. Racist rants and yelling at players just because a player is on the court doesn't mean that you get to say whatever. And I'm a big fan of trash talk. So
Right.
and even like educated trash talk, when you start knowing certain things about certain people and you say little stuff, I'm cool with that. But I think at a
Mhm.
certain point when we start getting to, and we both are black men on this show, at no point should racist rants or calling people outside of their names or N words be allowed in any sport, male or female.
And society in general, either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so make sure you follow me on all my socials: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. On Twitter, if you add a underscore to my name, that is my name. On all the other three socials, I am at KYNGRALPH.
And you can follow me on IG at the house of hoops.
All right, and we're out of here. Peace out.
Peace.